Sorry, I was just explaining, I've got 3 screens on the go, so I do apologise if I look like I'm off doing something. So I've got all your faces on one screen, and I've got my PowerPoint on another screen, and then I've got a camera on another screen. It's a bit overwhelming, to be quite honest, but I will get used to this technology. We all have to, don't we? Right, shall we make a start? And then if other people join us, that would be lovely. I'm just going to make sure that I can see everybody. So first of all, can you all hear me? Yeah. Perfect, okay. So today's session is based around the Clarity Workbook, this one you've got, okay? And there's some very basic stuff in here about team. So the first bit is just about, isn't it, about sort of making sure you deal with the frustration with your team and doing some systems. And then there's a little extra bit at the back, which is all about how you turn your staff into team. How do you make that different? Okay, and so we're going to talk a bit about that today. So let me just minimize that for me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Emma. It's fine. It doesn't matter. You've got no camera or mic. It's fine. People can join in as and when they want to. So let me just. Okay. Just concern. Right. So let's start my PowerPoint. I need to share my screen, don't I? First of all, that would be helpful. So, share screen. Okay. Right. Okay, so I'm hoping you can all see my slides. That'd be great to keep moving with that. Brilliant. Okay, so today we're going to talk about growing your team, and in particular sort of things about how to keep them motivated, how to get them engaged with stuff, and we're going to look at Team Matters. And we're also going to look about recruiting, so either your first employee or an extra one. Now I know the time is a bit weird at the moment, but there are a lot of people that are actually being made redundant. It was really interesting that earlier this week we got approached by somebody who used to work for us in our marketing team, who she's been furloughed and then obviously made redundant because of what's been happening. And she's going to come back and work for us doing some great stuff because we know how the quality of her work. So it's interesting that there are people around. Let me just check in that I don't want to make sure that there's anybody still waiting. Okay. Right, so what we're going to start with first then is we're going to start with actually thinking about how we're going to recruit people today, or how we're going to get the right people and then developing them. I want to remind you that in System Builder, there is a whole toolkit in there, which, let me just, which is the one that actually is all around building a team. So there's a building a team that works toolkit. There's lots and lots of stuff in there. So, you know, be aware of that because there's some really great things in there. Okay, so let's just have a quick look then at some of the first things about recruiting. And for some people that I'm working with, it's their first ever employee. So there's some really serious things to think about. But whenever you're taking on the cost of employing somebody, you need to think about it quite seriously, don't you? It's a big step for a lot of people, even taking on extra people. So the first thing to think about is, how do you know when it's the time to expand your team? How are you aware of that? You know, what is it that, how do you know and have confidence you can make those changes? I think the first thing you need to do is obviously understand your own money situation. So you need to think about what is the forecast for the next 12 months? You know, have you got a business plan? We've just been talking about getting all our clients to do this, but we need to do it ourselves. Things will be changing. And I was thinking about this yesterday. You know, we price times up partly based on turnover. And there's a lot of our clients who probably when we come to do their next year accounts, their turnover will have dropped quite considerably because they've had this lockdown and maybe haven't traded at all in those 4 months. And so that may affect our fees. And thinking about that, we need to think about, okay, what is our projection? Be aware of that. So thinking about forecast for the next 12 months and have a business plan. Now, one of the things you can do is obviously write down everything you do and how long it takes you to do it. Now, that's a massive job, isn't it? And that's why we often talk about the organisation chart, to have a think about the different roles that you play and the different things. And what I usually say is write down what you do, have a brain dump of everything that you do, but then come back to it a couple of days later, because that's when you'll be able to have a review and think, oh yeah, there was something I missed, something came up, whatever else. Okay. Obviously you need to group similar tasks together, because we're trying to think about what roles do we need. So do we need an admin role? Do we need a finance role? Do we need a social media role? You know, do we want somebody with skills for business development? Think about that. And then be focused on what you're good at. We talk about this a lot, don't we? About you should be doing only the things that you should be doing. So what are you really good at? And then what could somebody do better or quicker than you? What should you be focusing your energies on? And now again, recently there's been a lot of pulled back into the business, all of us working in the business, doing a lot of work, because we've had to just step up, to be honest, you know, and get things done. But we need to come back and think, what are we doing strategically and how is that working? So thinking about that, what are the things you would be comfortable to give away? And I don't mean that, you know, oh, you can't say nobody can do this as good as I. You know, remember we talk about ways of being able to give work over, and I'll talk about that a bit later. But there's a sort of shortcut that we already do with you, isn't it? Which in Clarity, which is the What I Actually Do diary. I don't think, excuse me, most people have the time to write down everything they do. Okay, so what we talk about in the What I Actually Do diary is to say, okay, what are the things that interrupt me and stop me doing the work that earns the business money at the moment, or stops me doing work that actually develops my business? So we talk about interruptions, don't we? We talk about the things that you could do that perhaps you could move on to somebody else. And that's a good place to start when you think about roles to begin with. But as you grow a business, you need to start thinking about what is happening in the business. Sometimes as well, it's useful to think about people around you who can help short term. So there's a lot of catching up to do for a lot of people and things like that. So who could help? You know, are there people that you know that could step in? Other people who've got capacity that you know through AVN maybe that could help out? Friends and family. There might be some people who would even volunteer to just help, you know, clear out. You know, we've all been working from home, and I don't know if you like my house, but my husband's surrounded by piles of files, still paper-based, a lot of his business that he works for. You know, and even if it's somebody to just get them back and put around, you know, safely away, stored, or get them, you know, records back to the clients or whatever else, things that take time, but actually don't need a particular skill. And all the time, think about the amount of hours you can save and the additional income you could generate with that additional time. And then you can build that into your forecasts too, because you can say, you know, it's like the What I Actually Do diary. We can work out normally that you can save probably 2 to 3 hours a week, normally more if you've sorted out your interruptions with your emails and your phone and everything else. What could you earn in that? Say that could earn you 3 hours a week. That could be doing a simple stuff that works session with somebody. That could be £600. Now you're not going to get that every week, but say you averaged it £200 a week. That's quite a nice bit of money over a year, isn't it, to put in your forecasts? So think about that. What could you know, what you do? And then would that cover the salary? Okay. So thinking about that. Now, you don't necessarily have to have all the work for somebody either. So if you find somebody that you think this has got the right person for the job, the right person for us as our company, then sometimes the job appears, so to speak. So when I joined Mark Wickersham's accountancy practice, at that time, couldn't really afford an extra person, but he needed a skill set that I had, which was software. At the time, there weren't people who were really up to speed with a lot of the bookkeeping software and account software, and I'd done a lot of that. So he employed me initially to do that, but with no client base ready for me. No way of, and so one of the things he had to do was to help generate that, but because I had free time, he could go out and generate work and know that I could pick it up straight away. There was no problem with the rest of the team. So sometimes it's worth taking a leap of faith, making that investment to free up that time moving onwards. Excuse me. So what type of employees do you need is the key thing, okay? So there are pros and cons to everything. And I think most of the time when we start, a lot of people would like to have somebody in the office, a permanent face, wouldn't they? Somebody's around. And as part of that, let me just check, sorry. As part of that, then it's important that you think about, obviously, the pros and cons of that. So one of the things about that is, obviously, you usually get, if you employ somebody, somebody who's really committed to staying with you. Now, not many people now think about a lifetime job, but actually when people have their own financial commitments, mortgage, car lease or loan or whatever else, then they're much more committed to their job for earning stuff, aren't they? That you have time to invest in them because they're employed. And there's that stability thing. We talk about a lot of this in a lot more detail in the Gearing Workbook about, you know, what is important to people, and stability, security is fundamental for most people. You know, knowing that they are safe, they can pay the mortgage, or, you know, they won't be thrown out of the house, they can pay the food bill. The basic stability and security costs are so important. And for you, obviously, the costs are known. But on the flip side, there are costs, you know, because you've got employers' NI and pension, you've got to obviously set up all the payroll. And as I put, it could be more difficult to end employment if it turns out not the right person. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. Obviously, you can have casual. So there's a lot of times where people just say, well, I'll just have a temp in for a short time. Now, that's great if you have systems in place or you're doing it for a job that doesn't need highly skilled candidates. You know, so they're good for cover, aren't they? Normally with the sort of, we tend to go for temps for admin roles and marketing, you know, bits of marketing roles and stuff. And they offer quite a lot of flexibility. But obviously, if they're casual, then you've got to work around them. You've got to plan about it. You probably have a cost because they're coming from an agency and they can leave without notice. And we've had that. At one point, we were having a temp helping us with our admin who just didn't show up one Monday. And we just couldn't track her down. And we didn't know where she was. So, eventually we found out, but it was like, well, oh, she just decided she didn't want to work for us. Just, I don't know, she was just tired of working and she didn't want to bother. But no phone call, no connection, whatever. So it can be a bit weird sometimes, okay? Excuse me. The next thing is thinking about outsourcing or independent contractors. So they're good for projects. And we often think about them for producing the compliance work in order to free up our team's time to do more customer facing stuff. Obviously, we don't always control how the work is done, and that can be very frustrating for us as accountants. And so for quite a lot of the time we spend is making sure that we've got some sort of relation and some agreement as to how they're going to do things for us or how they're going to bring records to us, because we all work in slightly different ways. And sometimes they don't always work the way we want. And we have to be a little bit flexible as well. And we've put in there the need to ensure that confidentiality and the non-poach contracts. So, you know, I do know some accountants who have subcontracted to other accountants that they know. And as long as there is a no-poach agreement, that's fine. And that often happens with things like, you know, if you have a client or a prospect that comes to you that needs an audit and you don't do audits, well, there are definitely AVN members that will do audits for you. So you can subcontract the work to an AVN member who does audits for the audit bit, and obviously you have a no poach agreement. And that just, you know, it's a great way of connecting to people that you can trust, as long as you agree the fee structure, obviously. We've talked about temps, you know, and that can be quite challenging for a lot of people. But the other thing is that if you don't like the person or they don't fit, you can get rid of them really quickly. And finally, I've got down here volunteers. And we probably laugh because we tried to often rope our kids into helping out with things. And my daughter and Shane's daughter beautifully sorted all this out when we moved offices, sorted out all the bookshelves and everything else. And I think for the price of a McDonald's was the cost. So it was extremely cheap, as it says there. And sometimes, you know, people will help out with things and it's really good. But obviously you still need to make sure that as family members, even, they've still got a safe place of work. You've still got to remember about all the rules you would have for an employee. You've got to be careful. And also working with family, you need to be really clear about expectations from both parties right up front, okay? So, you know, you need to be clear if you're going to pay them, how much you're going to pay them, but what you expect in return, outcome-wise, because particularly with like family, kids and whatever, things like that, you know, there's not always that commitment to coming in or doing things that you want. So just to be aware of that. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is that, you know, how do we, you know, if you've worked out the sort of type of employee you want to think of, so financially what's best for you, whether that's employed, whether that's part-time employment, whether that's subcontracted, whatever, you can do that. But then you need to think about, you know, how does all this fit and what perhaps skills you want. So, excuse me, I wanted to show you, oh, great. I'll just stop my share and share a different resource because obviously it's having a moment. I wanted to show you one of the action resources that's in System Builder. So in System Builder, we have lots and lots of resources, like I said earlier, about working with clients, working with team. Just move my file, excuse me. And so what we do is we've created several resources for you. So if I just go into System Builder, it's probably the quickest place, and find, stop sharing my screen, haven't I? Sorry about that. Let me just shut my screen again. Share screen. Right, sorry about that. So in System Builder, which we were joking about this the other day, weren't we? That should have it on my forehead. Okay. There's a great resource that actually was created with some AVN members. Excuse me. One of the things we like to do is run sessions a couple of times, 3 times a year, where we invite members to come together and talk about what the frustrations or the issues there are and create resources as part of it. And as part of that, we created this resource, the Recruiting for the Future. Okay, and I'm just going to see. So as you can see, it's got an expert in a box briefing notes. I'm just going to see if I can make that slightly bigger. There we go. Okay. But this was what we came out with, okay? So obviously, first of all, like I've just said, who are you looking for? What is the current strategy of your business? So we may need somebody that actually is to help free up your time or help with somebody in your team who's stressed. Or maybe actually there's a reason that you want somebody that's got a different set of skill sets that you currently have now. So building that together. And that's really, you know, important to think about. Are you positioning yourself as business growth advisors or compliance providers, thinking about what the skill sets you need? What technology has actually made a difference to the organization chart? So there may be some roles that are now obsolete, or there could be roles that could be created because of the technology we've got now. You know, so the specialists in certain things. I was really interested that one of the things obviously that comes time and again is the amount of apps that are coming out on the market at the moment. Just phenomenal amount of apps. And how do you keep abreast of what could be the best apps for your clients? Are you going to be a signpost for apps for your clients? If so, have you got somebody in your team who loves doing that, who loves looking at new things, you know, would be the great person to manage all of that and go, oh yeah, I know about an app about that. Then they might be the sort of person. Importantly, looking at the, if you know, in the team you currently have, so if you're not recruiting your first person, but you're looking at recruiting additional people, what are the skills you currently have that you're not taking advantage of? We do, again, an awful lot about this in Gearing, about understanding people, understanding what they're doing, but in particular, you can use the career development forms, which is what CDR stands for, Career Development Review. They're in System Builder, to have some discussions with people, you know, to work out what skills they have outside the business that they could bring in. And that's really quite important. It helps you think about, perhaps there are people out there that would be really useful. I've talked about that before, haven't I? Have a really clear job description of what you're looking for. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then when you do create your spec, what is essential and what is desirable? Okay, so what do you think you definitely have to have from that person? So obviously, usually that's attitude, isn't it? Customer service, customer care, things like that. And then what is desirable? What are the nice things we would like? Okay. So essentially here we've got, you know, some of the things we came up with: had to be qualified, experienced in zero, possibly prepared to travel if you're going out to visit clients or you're going to events, be competent at dealing with clients. Maybe you want somebody who does presentations, somebody who's be willing to do teaching software or whatever else, whether that's a presentation like I'm doing now, or whether it's a presentation just in a small room with a group of people. They must meet your values, we're going to talk about it as well, and be excited by the vision. And then, for example, you know, I've got some examples here. Must have speak Spanish or able to use and deliver AVN tools. Well, actually, you can teach them that, can't you? The Spanish thing might be not important, but it could be actually you've got a large percentage of your population of the client base that you work are Polish, say. Wouldn't it be useful to have a Polish speaking person in your team? I don't know. You need to think about that, but desirable is lots of things. Thinking about what channels you're going to use. So are you going to think about, you know, I'll look at that in a minute, but what sort of things are you going to think about? And more importantly, who's going to manage it? So when you're recruiting somebody, you need somebody who's control of all of that. To do all the sort of admin part, you know, place adverts, do everything else. Obviously, the strategic stuff, you sign off. You will sign off everything, but if you can get somebody else to help you, you know, come up with some of this information and do all the admin part of it, that'd be great. So I'm going to talk about recruitment process later, but you need to think what is yours at the moment. And some things to think about, which is things that we came up with in the group that we were in, was actually, is it better to have a small number of really good applicants? So actually perhaps have something in the advert or or in the process that weeds out people before they get to you. Making sure that applicants understand what you expect of them. Perhaps using profiling. We offer that through AVN. We use the Thomas International Personal Profiling Analysis, and that allows you to fit people with a role and see how they're best suited. And it tells you how they work under pressure, and more importantly, how you will best manage them to get, you know, to give them the best chance of working well with you in your team. And GIA is about general intelligence. So again, that might be something that's useful in some of the key areas. One of the things we've connected with, we have connected with a lady who does recruitment, and she does these big places where she actually has like a center where she brings in a large amount of applicants, and she does all the weeding out before you get to see the final people. It's quite an interesting way of having it. One of the things that we always do is have a telephone conversation with people before we meet them, because a good telephone manner is essential. And you know, being able to communicate effectively with clients is really important. And it's great, you know, technical stuff is really useful back office, but if they can't then communicate that to a client, that's going to be a challenge. So seeing how they are in that, and maybe give them a task to complete, okay? Something that's connected to the role that you're after, just to see how they think, or maybe think a bit, in a minute we're going to talk about the initiative ladder, something that might make them think a bit more outside the box we'd have to do. And finally, who has the final say? Who has the final vote? Okay, so I'll explain our system in a little while, but ultimately, Shane has the final say. Okay, he's the boss, but we have a very big input into that. Okay, there are lots of ways of recruiting, so you can do it through LinkedIn. I'm going to show you some adverts that have looked at and used that. Facebook. One of the great things is just ask around. Okay, I got my accountancy job at Mark Wickisham's accountancy practice because somebody I used to work with at a different practice recommended me to come for an interview. So it can be like people that you know. You could have apprentices. We have a video on YouTube about apprentices in the accountancy profession. Remember with apprentices, that there is quite a big management part of what you have to do there. Okay, yes, it's a cheap way of, you know, getting a new employee. Cheap being the wrong word, I know, but you know, probably a good way of getting it. But there is quite a bit of work you have to do to make sure that that person gets the support they need through their apprenticeship. So think about that. Obviously, word of mouth is important. Agencies. Pros and cons of that, obviously most of them are just so expensive, it's quite frightening, and dependent on some of them I know just send you complete rubbish, no matter what you tell them. So it's always worthwhile making friends with maybe a couple of agencies, and let them know your values and your business, so that perhaps they keep an eye out on it. Again, we connected to a local agency, and whenever we've needed anybody in the sort of admin marketing field, because that's her speciality, she knows exactly the type of person we're looking for. So she already can cherry pick people from her list for us to interview and meet. So that saves us a lot of time. And maybe in networks, business networks. So thinking about that. The other thing is obviously that, at this, it might be that you want to just offer people some work experience. If it's something that, again, we've got some process they can follow, they can get on with it. There are ways of attracting people. So for some people, like if you're looking for somebody senior in your business, an office, somebody who may be a partner of the future, then you need to be able to explain your succession plan, so that they can see how they could be part of that. Otherwise, they'll just disappear at some point, won't they? We've talked about the fact that you really need a good working environment. I know we're all working from home at the moment, and that's not the best working environment for most of us. And so we're coming back into the office, make it a nice environment. I love here that I have this bookshelf here, and you can see I've got stuff all over it. That's, I've got my fish, explain that in a minute. I've got a tiger, I've got my hippo right over there. You probably can't see that. I've got all sorts of things that make me smile. I feel comfortable with it. And I've got a setup here that's very nice. I've got a very desk so I can stand up and sit down. I've made it, it's a nice space, light for me. So, it's important about that. Explain to people that you will help them have the right technology, make sure you're clear about vision and values. That's quite critical, isn't it? Because they need to be really connecting with that. Give the options to be flexible. Obviously now we've got this thing that we're still getting people working from home, and that's causing a challenge, and I want us to discuss that in a bit. But thinking about that, knowing that they're going to be part of a team and meeting the team so they fit in, and set the right tone in your ads. I'm going to show you some of that in a bit. Okay. We asked these people what the sort of skills they thought they would be needing to recruit for moving forward. And I think that these are the things that came out. Technically savvy. We need people who will pick up software and be able to run with it quite quickly. As much as a lot of these software do their own training, stuff like that, hopefully a lot of software is intuitive enough to understand how to use it once you understand the accounting principles behind it. Self-discipline is quite critical, isn't it? Because we are allowing people to work remotely, and we have to trust them. So they need to be self-disciplined. They need to be able to get on with work, report back, show us what's going on. They need to be inspired by the why, what's important by the business, that they get that, because when you've got somebody who is inspired by why it's important, we talked about this, didn't we, last week? So so we've been talking about this quite a lot, your why. But when they get inspired by that, then they really commit to you and to the future. They need to be adaptable. More and more we are having to do multi-roles. We're having to change, step in and help each other out, and they need to be customer focused. Keep saying don't tell. That's the only really way that people differentiate us, is their customer experience. They also had some dreams. So that was the needed really, and then this was the dreams, that they would be prepared to challenge the status quo, because you need people sometimes who go, why are you doing that? I don't mean in an aggressive way, but in a way of saying, why do we do it this way? Have you ever thought of? Be prepared to sort of challenge and not just sort of be a yes person all the time. Obviously loyal, self-motivated, willing to step up. Sometimes you have to put people out of the comfort zone, and having people that are willing to do that's great. Want to change lives, want to change clients' lives, positive, enthusiastic, go the extra mile. So there's lots of things on this resource that tell you all about stuff, but in the gearing roadmap, that's where we really focus on it. Okay. So the important thing is to think about, when you are going to recruit, what does your ideal client candidate look like? Okay. There's a lot of stuff in there about, what do we need to think about? And I wanted to just show you some job adverts. So I just hope it's still on my desk. Let me just stop the share again for a second while I go and find it. This morning I had some challenges, And as usual, things are never quite as you expect them to be, are they? Right, so let's have a look. So at the moment, I want to just think while I'm trying to find them, what job adverts, what are the things in job adverts that attract you? Could you put some notes in the box? If you were looking for a job in accountancy practice, what are the things that would make you read the job advert and perhaps apply? What are the things that would actually get you excited? To put some stuff in the chat for me, that'd be great. Things that actually, you know, oh, yeah, that's career progression, exactly. Yeah, you know, people want to move, don't they? Come on, I'm sure you've got loads of others. Yeah, opportunity for development. Friendly environment, yeah. Yeah. So let me just show you some job adverts that I found. Ooh. Make it big enough for us to read. Oh, that was rubbish. Isn't it typical that you just can't share them when you want to? Right, let's share these. So I just want to share a couple of job adverts. I don't know if you can see this one. It's just a little one, and I just found it, but I just found it incredibly boring, as usual. If I can, oh, look at that. That's rubbish, isn't it? It basically was just saying, you know, we are a successful international organization, yada, yada, yada. And I just found that incredibly like technically and boring. So I found that a bit of a challenge, to be honest, when I was looking at that. I don't know why it's not letting me see them in view. Oh, look, that's rubbish, isn't it? I tell you what, I'll come back to them. I will try and download them all and see if I can look at them properly. Gosh, sometimes. So I was thinking about really what job adverts and how to attract people to job adverts. So if I just I can go to my oh sorry, isn't it typical? If I just show you them on here, might be a better way if I can. There we go. Oh, that's a rubbish printout, isn't it, as well? So that was basically a senior basic accountancy one. The second one, oh gosh, the quality is shocking. They were very good before. Let's see if I can find one that actually. No, I'm going to have to send you these because I want you to see the difference. That it's really, I think, important to connect with people. I wanted to show you a couple that I'd found on the internet. So this is one that HubSpot have done that they've put on LinkedIn. And I thought this was a really nice one. So we're excited to be named as the best workplace in technology by Great Places to Work, thanks to employee feedback. We're proud of the company culture we've built as we've grown to over 2,500 employees quickly. Globally to make HubSpot a place that people love to come to work every day. Interested in learning more about our company culture? Check out the announcement here. So reading that, I'm thinking, oh, it's got some really good words that connected. You know, we're excited to be working here. It's a great place to work. They've won an award for it. People love to come to work. What is it about it? So you want to say, oh, let me find out about that company. Let me find out a little bit more about them. So I thought that was quite a good one. The other one I liked was this one. I don't know if I can show it to you completely. Let me just move that out if I can. Oh, no, it's not going to let me. Okay. So this is a talent acquisition manager. But what I liked about this one was it's an infographic, obviously, that's gone out. But they talked about like the 3 key words from their vision. So they've got the culture, innovation, be remarkable. Does that connect with me straight away? Yeah. Take your career to the next level, working with amazing people around the world. Use the power of IBM and I can't remember so that, and to innovate for the future. That's like plans. And work for a company who gives you a platform to do amazing things. So even that bit is fantastic, isn't it? And then what are we looking for? And then this is a bit about what the job is. So I just thought some of this is really interesting to have a look at. I also wanted to show you, if I can open it, I might actually open that in System Builder. Let's go to System Builder. Yeah. That one. So this is a resource that actually is was created by Alan Woods and Woods Squared. He's now one of our practice growth experts, but has been a member for a long time. And this was one of his challenges, was about finding people who were the right fit, particularly qualified people that would work right and have the right balance of attitude and personality. So they used a slightly different thing. They did use some agencies, but they then also placed an advert on a website. Okay, and they sent an email out to all the people who they thought in LinkedIn might find them the right person. So, you know, when I said ask others, they actually put a thing out in LinkedIn saying, we're looking for somebody. Do you know somebody? And if you can find the right person for us, we'll give you a £1,000 donation to our charity and £1,000 to you. So the cost of really having a recruitment agency, they've gone, you know what, if you find this, we'll give you some of it and we'll give a charity some of it. So looking for people, okay? And they got a really great response from that. People actually looking for people to work for them. So helping them out, okay? But also they did an extra thing, which was an advert. And they tried to make themselves look very different, as you can see. So here we've got some caricatures, you know, and in that case, the we're all helping rural businesses to grow has been the key to our growth, okay? So they've brought here, you know, a little bit of fun about their team, but also some key things about them. So growth, socially what they do, because they have quiz nights and barbecues, do a lot of work for charity. Success, so what have they been successful in doing? Recognition, so, you know, they've won for awards as firms, and then values. You know, and so at the time, the biggest thing was about paying more than the living wage, obviously. And then the role. So the role is here, what the role is, what the benefits is, and something else. So all of that, again, got some great feedback. And they shared it on the website, they shared it on Facebook. But lastly, they actually commissioned somebody to do a campaign for them. And that did get success. So they, again, linked with that £1,000 reward and £1,000 to charity. They did that. And they said the advert in the end cost them £249. So, you know, that was quite a lot of stuff. The LinkedIn advert they sent out was this one. So these are the caricatures of the team as they stood. So this is how they see themselves, obviously, and it's a bit of fun, isn't it? So it tells you a little bit about each of the person, and then join our team. Are you going to fill this box here? And some of the key stuff here. And that's a really nice way of doing it, again. So really useful to think, again, use the stuff that's in System Builder, take advantage of the ideas that are already in there. Just think this is the other one that I wanted to just show you. Okay, so thinking about if you're going to advertise for somebody, what is the objective? The objective is to get them to come and see you, okay, but the right person to come and see you. Show them more about who you are, sell yourself, and make it personal, so how they can be part of it, and make it easy for you to contact. This was, gosh, a long time ago now, probably about 18 years ago. We had a software development team internally, And we were looking for somebody to help us be our customer front facing person, dealt with all the questions about our software. And as you can see, we were looking for a certain type of person. Now, Shane and Jenny and I are quite sci-fi people, and we're quite into Trekkie at the time. And so we thought, well, you know, wouldn't it be nice to have somebody who would actually fit in with us as a team? So this is what we wrote. An enthusiastic sci-fi fan would fit into our strange and often demented team. You don't have to be a sci-fi fan, but it helps. Discover new worlds and civilizations and transport yourself to a great place to work. No holodeck needed. You're one of the civilians. Take an enterprising journey at warp speed into the realms of the software development work. Boldly deal with our often PC challenged clients and answer the most obvious questions about our software. On a more serious note, you might be that special someone to help us provide quality telephone, email, and web support for our clients. So if you fancy working with our own versions of Picard, Crusher, and Crew, call this number on this time on these days. Now, I can't tell you how much fun we had with this advert. Now, obviously, if you're a Trekkie, you'll have got all those little words in there that are to do with Trekkies, okay? But not more than that. It was actually the fact that it was fun. We had a lot of people come we have an event where people come. So it was really interesting. So a lot of people rang. We could check their telephone manner, which was obviously the key part of the role on that. And if we liked the telephone manner, we invited them to come to an event where we talked to them. So these are some other ones. Wanted people with passion, people with heart. Imagine working in a firm that is as dedicated to his team as it is to his customers. And this was another way of working. This is our customer software one. So we tried different ways. And then, do you want to feel you're really making a difference and be part of a team where your voice gets heard? Thinking about the sort of people you want to connect with. So we talked about some of the wish list was people who would challenge and be part of what you want to do and want to feel part of what we're going through. So that voice be heard could be quite important. So thinking about that and looking at these and using them, taking stuff out of it, you know, coming up with your own. More importantly, getting your team to build this together. So if you're employing somebody to come in the team, yes, you want people who fit in. So you need adverts that attract people who are similar in some ways that fit in, but just remember it's got to be about the role. So you might have some people who don't quite fit in. But you know, that's just life, isn't it? So there's a lot of stuff in System Builder, which you can have a look at. As you see, I was supposed to have a folder on my desktop, but that didn't work. So if you think about it just at the moment, from what you've just seen, okay, from those adverts, what are the key points you would put in an advert for a new job person? Could you put them in the chat box now? What are the things that, the phrases you think would attract the person that you want? I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes while I get a drink of water so you can put some points in the chat box. Come on, I'm going to wait till somebody puts something in there. Thank you. Raza, grow the business together. Wendy, friendly, fun, motivated, team player, forward thinking. Brilliant. Penny, forward thinking, ability to think outside the box, looking for a fantastic opportunity. Yeah. Sometimes that phrase, think outside the box, is a bit overused. So what would you think about, thinking about the job, think about a situation that might be outside a box. You know, that you might be able to put them in when you actually talk to them. So for example, when we were advertising for a customer support person, one of the things Shane did in his interview was that he actually sat down and almost did put somebody on the spot and said, okay, I've bought this stapler, this pair of glasses and this pen. Okay, and I come to you and say, these glasses aren't working. How do you deal with it? And it was interesting to see people were saying, well, you know, You know, let me check the prescription, let me have you put them on your face right, you know, are they actually your glasses? You know, there were things, but how could you say these sort of things in a really positive way? Are you using them for the right things? Are they reading glasses, or are they everyday glasses? Or, you know, that was asking the questions to confirm that things were right. So it was really interesting. Sometimes it's about having people who are really good at asking, finding out more, digging a bit deeper, isn't it? So yes, there's lots of great ideas there. So thank you. Put more in, you know, particularly if you're thinking about recruiters, really put in the ideas that you've got, because it's always useful to share them with everybody. Chrissy, help our friendly team grow by being motivated, team player and customer focused. Yeah, so that's it. That's the key thing, isn't it? So you've got a lot of people want to be part of something that's bigger than themselves. So it's really important to make that connection. Okay, so I just want to explain to you our recruitment process. There is a standard recruitment process in System Builder, which is, you know, the basic one about do the job profile, your ideal candidate profile, put out adverts, there's that. But I do want to just show you ours, because we do things slightly differently. And I have to say it is quite lengthy, but it works, which is why we do it this way. And I'm not saying everybody has to do this. It depends how important the role is. Okay, how important the role is for you. So we start by, when we realize that we need somebody, is by mapping out the skills and expertise to fulfill the role and to agree on who's going to coordinate or responsible for the system, just like I mentioned earlier, okay? And that's quite important. So we will prepare a detailed job description, responsibilities, and more importantly for us, review this document. It's called a sense of purpose. So we need to think about what is the main purpose of the job, of the role, and, you know, then add qualifications, skills, experience, knowledge, other attributes, as you can see. We outline the main duties, and that gives us the framework. So, for example, so we've got here, if we look at a receptionist and an accounts assistant, okay, the receptionist's job's role is dealing with phone calls and visitors. And the duties include first point of contact on the telephone, email, answering queries where possible, or directing to the relevant person, general admin duties, answering emails. The accounts assistant would be all aspects of preparation of accounts and client care, and the duties include preparation of accounts, income and corporation tax returns, bookkeeping and bank reconciliations, so on and so on. Now, that's the duties and the responsibilities, and we also need to understand the level of experience, particularly if you're going to be using agencies, they need to be understanding. But now you need to think of what is the purpose? What would get somebody to want to do this job? Okay, so thinking about it, can you articulate that? So what is the reason and how does it fit with our vision, our mission of where we're going? What is expected, and also what are the targets? So what are the goals they're going to be working to? So, okay, so let's go right back to perhaps that receptionist admin person, which was dealing with phone calls and visitors, okay? But the purpose of the role is to create an outstanding, memorable first impression of the business to everyone who calls or visits the office, okay? Now that already starts making you think of the type of person you want in there, yeah? Because it's more about attributes as well as qualifications. So in this case, you know, this is first impressions. How do you want your business to be seen? Okay, so when you're interviewing somebody, you're thinking, what first impression are they giving me? Because that's what somebody else will get. And thinking about that. Here, you know, they've got the accountabilities are to follow the meet and greet system every time a visitor is due, answering the phone on the second ring, and storing all the memorable information about visitors so they can be wowed next time we visit. So you want somebody who's really good at remembering people's names, remembering about their family, you know, when they've talked, or whether they've talked about their dog, or, you know, it being aware of, you know, anniversaries, birthdays, not by asking lots of questions, but if they pick up this information when people come in and have a chat. And that's the thing, it's being able to have that sort of chat and connect with people. The targets are actually helping to increase the customer feedback score, because if their experience has been great, the score will be higher, and that person, that receptionist, is part of the experience. That sometimes, you know, if you had a mystery shopper come and ring you up or send you an email, what is the score that they give for that first impression? The target is that your CRM system's completely up to date, your systems are maintained, and that they submit ideas on a regular basis of ways that you could help people even more, because that's quite critical, isn't it? If you look at the accounts assistance role, okay, so we talked about all aspects of preparation of accounts, client care, but the purpose is to create the client's accounts to legal requirement while offering your clients a proactive approach into how you can help their business and personal affairs. So we've got the technical bit, but you also have to this proactive approach of how you can help. That's the key. So obviously the accountability is making sure that we get our fees, that they get, we bill everything, spotting opportunities to help and generate extra work orders, ensuring the customers continue to be advocates, and acting as a team player, being part of what we're going on. And their targets will be GRF, so they might have a billing target, the amount of extra work orders they do, customer satisfaction scores, and maybe there's perhaps a 360-degree feedback process where everybody feeds back on everybody else and they get great scores from that. So you can use all of that, and that's really part of the career development. But again, another thing for you to perhaps have a look at, because it's really important to think about the purpose, because that's what needs to go in the job in a way, because what will attract me? I want to be part of helping businesses. Okay, so some of you have put helping businesses grow. I'm really sorry. I just need to this is one of those moments. I'm really sorry. I will just, I've just got somebody come into the office. So let me can I get you to put some stuff in the chat box, and I'll get back to you in a second. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. Now we're back. Brilliant. Well done. Everybody's back on. Thank you, Gareth. I just spotted I was on mute. Oh dear. Challenging day. Okay. The next thing is, obviously, if you're going to be employing somebody and you've gone through the process, which I was in the middle of doing, wasn't I? You'll need to do induction. So let me just go back to the process. So we've got a purpose. We then actually do we ask people to apply for the job. The people that we think are about right, we will already have created what we think is the right profile for that role. So Thomas International allow you to do a job analysis that allows you to profile the sort of role that you want and the sort of person that would fit best in that. So we do that as well. We also prepare our ideal candidate. Okay, so make sure that. And then we decide if we are going to use a recruitment agency, who we're going to use. And then what we do is we invite anybody who is interested in the job to come to an evening's presentation. Now, in our case, it's live, but I can't see why we couldn't do this on Zoom, to be honest. I'll explain why in a minute. So people come to the presentation, and we ask as many of the team to come to the presentation too. We usually run it about 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night. It's designed for the presentation to be about 30 minutes long, and then we can have chats with people if they want to. So we will make sure we've got people ready to talk to it, because part of what's important to us is that we like them as people, as they fit in. We will advertise either through the local media or through people we know or whatever else. And then what happens is that Shane has a presentation, which has a script here, that he presents. And he has that ready, so we check that. Okay, so we place an advert. In the details of the advert, what we'll do is we'll have the name of somebody, the coordinator, who they have to ring. Okay, and we invite them using a script. So so we ask them, you know, what's your first name? Thanks for calling. From the advert, you can see we're not an ordinary company, and we don't recruit in an ordinary way either. What caught your eye about the advert, so we can learn about that. I'd like to invite you to a short 40-minute presentation that will tell you everything you need to know about our company, the opportunity, and whether it's right for you. At the end of the presentation, you can choose either to leave, no questions asked, or stay and meet the team. And this is when we're going to do the presentation. And then we can email them a map and directions. So very simple, but we use the same script with everybody. And also we can hear how they are on the phone as we're doing that. Okay. We do deflect questions in it as well. So we don't tell them everything about the job or anything else. We'll tell that there'll just be something that's in the advert. We won't really do it. And we will also record information on each candidate, how we found their telephone manner. And that's why you need the right person to be listening on the phone and see how much they are paying attention. In the evening, we have a sheet that we print off that we have ready. It's a really simple sheet for us, okay? So it's put on the chairs, people come, they are told that we're going to have a 40-minute presentation, and then we'll ask them to just fill in the sheet, okay? So first of all, answer the question. First of all, is AVN exactly the sort of company I can see myself working for? Or no, I don't think this is what I'm looking for. That's fine. Tell us something that you are passionate about, because, you know, we have passions, okay? And this is one of the stupid ones, but it works. If you want to describe your animal, what would it be and why? Okay, now the interesting bit is the why. We'll come back to in a minute. And you have the opportunity to ask us one question, write it here, and then they put their details, okay? Now, what happens is at the end of the presentation, so Shane stands up and all he does is tell them about us. So he tells them about our history, about our vision, about our values, about how we work together, what our passion is for our customer service. Then he talks a little bit about the role. So what's the role and how that's going to affect the clients, how that's going to affect the business, how they'll be part of that, how it will work, the purpose of it mainly. Okay. And then if people choose to stay, if they tick the yes box, then they're asked to go and find somebody in a shirt like mine, this lovely orange shirt, and just have 5 minutes, and they're allowed 5 minutes. So on Zoom, we could do that in breakout rooms, couldn't we? Just have people ready, you know, each of your team could be in a breakout room, and you could just put them in there, people in there 5 minutes at a time that they have. And in the 5 minutes, we're given the sheet, so they give us the sheet, and then we ask them the questions. So the first of all, tell me about, you know, something you're passionate about. Somebody who came said he was passionate about kiteboarding. So tell me why it's so great. And so he lit up as he talked to us about kiteboarding, just absolutely enthusiasm. And you could see his passion and excitement. And you thought, well, if this is what he's got for kiteboarding, if we could get him this passionate about our stuff, it would be amazing. And then sort of the animal bit. Now, okay, there's loads of things out there where people can tell you what animal you should write on here because of what it says about you. But you can usually tell if somebody's pre-rehearsed this, okay? And if that's true, then I often say, no, okay, tell me another animal. I make them think of something different. But more importantly, I ask them why. So if they choose to be an animal, why? Okay, so if you choose that you're a lioness, why? Because they are part of a pack, they work as a team, they're very passionate about looking after their cubs, they're strong, powerful, they put up with the male lion being lazy half the time, whatever it is, okay? But whatever it is, all those words will tell you something about the person, okay? And that's really interesting again. And then if they've got a question, they can ask a question, so you can answer it. Now we have, once we have 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes on a timer. At the end of the 5 minutes, we go, thank you very much. It was absolutely lovely speaking to you. Somebody will ring you tomorrow to see whether you've got through to interview phase. And that's a promise. So make sure you've put the contact number and the preferred time to be contacted. Because obviously if you're in a job, you don't want to be interrupted in the middle of it. So that bit's really important. Okay. And the reason the native language is there, it says there, as part of it, we might want you to ask to complete a personality profile analysis. And we need your native language in order to make sure that you get the best result on that you can possibly get. Okay. Now, we then walk them out the door, say goodbye, and we come back and we have these two things here for office use only. And there's two really simple questions. Do we like them? Between 1 and 6, 6 being the best. Could we work with them? Between 1 and 6. You might like somebody, but you might not be able to work with them. Okay. And then we have a memory jogger. So, you know, as a team member, I could be seeing 10 people. So I need to be able to remember who that person was. So even if it's something daft like, I don't know, ginger hair, or it might be flowery blouse, or it might be great smile, or whatever it was, something that will make me think, oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, because that's really critical in our process. And when we've met them all, because often we have 30 or more people apply for a job, then what we do is we sit down as a team, and first of all, people who've got 6 and 6, they go into our interview plan. Okay, we're looking for between 3 and 5 people to go through to interview out of the 30. And if you've got 5s, okay, then you have to convince the rest of the team that that person is worth having an interview. So then you have to be the advocate for the candidate if you really want them to work for you. So that tells us how much we think somebody will bring to the business. And obviously we're not looking for somebody we just like, but it's to work with. How do we think they could really get on with this and work with it? So for us, it works really well. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but it works really well with us. Okay. So you can see in System Builder, you can see a recording of our presentation. Like I said, we always contact everybody, usually within 24 hours. And if we don't think they're right, we just say, you know, we explain that. And those that we do, we invite them to complete the profiling. So they get an email asking them to do that, okay? And we will get that profile back. So after that, obviously, as you can see, we contact people, and if it's a customer-facing role, then we will use a telephone interview document as well to do so we'll go out and do that. And for that, what that means is that we ask somebody to ring us and ask us some questions. It can be about anything. So you can just say, do you know what, I'd like you to just ring Emma and find out 3 things about her. Okay. And then I'd like you to send us an email about that conversation. And then what that allows us to do is, first of all, when I get the email back that tells me what they've heard, I can check, did I say that? Did they listen enough? Did they listen behind that? So we have a system for telephone that, okay? But when we get out the PAs, then we can have a look at those, okay? We don't make any judgments unless we think somebody's completely off the scale with the PPA profile. So if we've done a job analysis and somebody is completely off, then we might say, no, okay. Maybe they'd be good for another role, because if we've given them straight 6s, we obviously think that we really want them as part of the business, so we might have to come up with a different role for them. But for the role that we're after, if they don't vaguely match, I'm not saying it has to be a perfect match, but at least a vaguely match, then obviously we don't have those. And then what the next thing they do is they come in for interview. Okay, so they come in, and we actually have a day. So we have a day. If say we've got 3 or 5, they all get done in the same day. The team are all available. So they have to make time to come in, even if they've got a job, and they need to come in and spend 5 minutes after their formal interview with Shane and somebody else. He always has somebody else with him. They have 5 minutes with every team member. So in that 5 minutes, they're working out, do they like this in work environment? Do they like this person? And the team members thinking, will they fit in? Do I think they're going to be great or not? Okay. And after that, we give our feedback to Shane, and Shane decides finally. And then obviously we offer the position. So, but even the people who don't get the position, what we will do is we will go back to them and give them their PPA feedback. So we will explain, yeah, they're not right for us in the role, but from their profile, it may be that there are other roles that they would be even better for. So I had that, had somebody who came for a job as a, came as a programmer, I think. And we did his profile, and it was just completely wrong once we'd interviewed him, once we looked at the profiling. It wasn't right at all. But what he would have been great at, from his profile, you could see he'd be a great teacher. I'm an absolutely perfect teacher. So I phoned him and I said, look, I'm really sorry you didn't get the job, but can I just give you some feedback? Because your profile tells me this. So I fed back the profile, just like I would for anybody else if we did your profile, and explained the strengths and weaknesses, and not weaknesses, but the strengths and the sort of areas they could go into. And I said, you know what? Having read this, to me, it would see you would make a perfect teacher. And he said, you know what? I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to teach adult education. And I said, well, you just got the skills for it. So why not go and try it? So, you know, sometimes it can be a really positive thing, even telling somebody they haven't got a job, if you can give them something of value, is what I'm saying, really. Okay. So this is our process. This allows us to do it. Like I said, there's a much simpler one. Ours is quite lengthy. And I remember one person saying to me as she's going through the interview, am I actually just coming for a job, you know, or this, or am I coming for the job as the MD? You seem to be asking me lots of questions. And I was like, well, it's really important that you feel happy here with us and we feel happy with you. It's a big investment, not just in money, is it, but in time and energy, and emotion, to be honest, when you connect, when you employ somebody. And it's absolutely awful if you find they're not the right fit. So it's important to sort of just spend that time. I know it's a challenge, and I know often people say, oh, I just need somebody now, I just need somebody now. Well, if you just need somebody now, write a system and get a temp in. But if you want actually something that somebody will help you grow your business and develop, then take the time to recruit properly. Okay. Now, the important thing is, obviously, once you have recruited, you need to make sure you've got a process that gets people through an induction process. Okay. And I don't just mean that here's your desk, here's a computer, here's where we make a cup of tea. There has to be a process, a plan. Okay. So in our case, we've got here, before they arrive, we have a whole pre-induction action plan. So this is just an example of one. Okay. So this is about, have we got the booklet printed? Because we have a booklet. We know that they'll need to spend time with different people with training. So have we got all those organized so that they can book in their time to train with different people? Because one of the other things that we do here is that we let people have up to half a day sat with each other person in the team. Now, you can't do that in a huge team, but in a small team you can. So they understand what we do. So I can sit there and explain what my role is, what it involves, what pieces of software I have to use, but more importantly, what am I bringing to the company, and therefore how they can help me in my role, and how I can help them in their role to make that connection. Obviously that the team are all ready and they've got it booked in their diary for those training, that they've got their own work area sorted, more important than ever these days, isn't it? The computer's already preloaded with everything that they're going to need. The telephone's set up for them. You know, they've got a general station. They're on our practice database so that they've got access. They've got our team member handbook ready and our new employment form and our mission statement or our values. So everything's ready. Okay. So we have a checklist just to make sure that we've got things ready before they even come. And part of the pre-induction booklet, let me just show you, this is an example one, obviously, is that you're not going to show me. Okay, let's pull that up. Okay, is that it's split. So the managing director does some stuff, is responsible for everything in our business, but he can allocate it to other people. The important thing is that when they're joining you, they feel part of the team quite quickly. Okay, so first day is literally finding out about us. So introduce the company, brief history and our vision. They'll have heard some of this, obviously, at the recruitment event in our case, but they might not have done with yours. Tour around the office, introductions, the policies and procedures. So setting out some of your ground rules, okay, right at the beginning. If you expect people to step up, you know, that needs to be explained, you know. Then having a lunch, preferably with the team, would be good. Introduction to the systems manual. So understanding what systems are, where they are, where to look at it, and then meeting the department manager, and then evaluation of the first day for all of them, okay? And then we've got the next stage, which is, this is for the managing director. He will go through all different things. And then he might decide to get somebody else to walk the trainee around the building, explain where things are, like the fire extinguishers, first aid kit, fire alarms, smoke alarms, those sort of health and safety things. Then we've got obviously personnel stuff. So the personnel manager needs to talk about what are the basic rules with procedures. So punctuality, what to do if you're sick, time off for dentist, do you allow that or not? Confidentiality, obviously a big one. What to do in an emergency, okay? What are the rules to getting out of the building or whatever else? If you allow people to have keys or access to the office. So in our case, we don't usually give people keys in the first 3 months because they're on a 3-month trial. Then they've got access to come in after 3 months. But again, it could change. What is the policy about reviews on salary and payment, about expenses, about social activities, all that sort of stuff. And then some key systems. Okay, so this is really important. So all the systems that are in System Builder that say all team, okay, you need to go through them with them and explain why these are all team, why it's important. And there will be different sections in there that you'll need to look at. So this is just ticking off that you've gone through it all, okay? And the forms that you might want them to be aware of. So if they have to put in holidays, overtime expenses, training requests, if you've got a training budget, how do they access that? Things like that. Got like fit and proper for audit purposes, those sorts of things. And then here we've got about their own department. So in your case, it might not need a department, but if there are certain areas that you have specific things. So you've had a company as a whole, but if they're working in the payroll department, right, what's specific about the payroll? Things like that they need to know. And then basically computer training. So it's whatever software you want in here. But it may be that they already are good at this stuff, but it's just a testing. Okay, so how good are they at some of these things? If you want if they've said they've got 0, well, let's have a look at them using it. Show them, so whatever else there is on there. They're obviously statutory stuff. So there are all, that's just basically a thing probably to do within the first couple of weeks. There'll be different bits of it done at different times because of the training, but it is useful to have that ready because then you've got a process there. Excuse me, just close that. And then obviously you've got your personnel file. You need to make sure that obviously you've got people returning from work after maternity leave or long absence of sick or furlough, that you do that again, that you have, and so there's a slightly different returning to work one. So important that if you've invested all that money and time getting the right person, you actually get them on board quickly. So getting them onto a standard system. So if it's a role, do you remember in organization chart in System Builder, we can look at a role and we can show them where they fit and we can show them what that role is. So really important that we go back to that and we share that. Okay. So any questions on recruiting? Being ever so quiet. You're still all here, aren't you? Yeah, we have to be, yeah. Okay, I just want to check. Okay, that's good. All right, so one of the things that it's really important is to have regular review. Still worried about it? Yeah, it's a big thing, and definitely work with your practice growth expert to really nail some of this stuff. It takes a while to think about it and get the right person, and often, like, so we're in panic mode because we just need help, but it's so important to get the right person. If you've got the wrong people in your team, it's such hard work. I agree, Gareth, there's a lot to take in to get it right, but it is important to get it right. And that's why I said always bounce off the practice growth experts. If you do a job advert, send it to us and let's see. Tell us what the role is, tell us the job adverts, let's see if we think somebody would fit that. If you want to try us to do a profile, and we've got a few people. But yeah, we've got a few people who actually have been looking at senior roles, and when they've got to like the last 2 candidates, then we've profiled them to look at that. Yeah, it's a big decision, Andy, when you employ your first team member, it is. And that's why at the very beginning, I talked a little bit about having some financial planning, actually doing forecasts, making sure that you can make that commitment or working out how much you can commit to. So there's nothing wrong with saying, I can only commit to having somebody 3 half days a week. Okay. There will be people out there who will take that job. Okay. And will probably, with an option that long term, it might become 5 full days. You don't know, do you? But at the moment you need to work out what you need help with now, what you need to take off your shoulders now, what do you need to move on. And that's the same for the team. You know, when the team is stressed, we need to think about, actually, is the stress part of the fact that they've got too much to do, or they're not doing the right sorts of things? Different conversation, but we need to think about that. But employing your first team member is very big. And that's why often what I say to people when we're doing clarity is, maybe if you're just on your own, think about outsourcing your compliance work. Okay. If you use some reputable firms, you know what quality of work you're going to get back. It might not be exactly how you want it, excuse me, as far as file format, but that can be adapted. And then think about part-time employees for some of the admin work, some of the front of house work, or even just get a virtual assistant. So there is a system in System Builder all about getting a virtual assistant. You can hire somebody, you know, who will look after your emails, you know, manage your social media postings, answer your phone. You know, I know a lot of people who've had great experiences with phone companies. Moneypenny absolutely wowed somebody, one of our members, because what they did was they had a client coming to visit, and the client couldn't find them, and so they rang the office, as they would do, and Moneypenny obviously are an agency, picked up, answered as the company, and actually directed them to the office. They found them on Google Maps, and they physically told them road by road as they were driving, turn left here, turn right there, you can park your car here, you should just see our doorway across the road. Absolutely outstanding service, that. You know, so there are people who will, you know, our businesses that can really make a fabulous first impression for you and not be in the building. Okay, so, you know, be open is what I'm saying. There's lots of other opportunities. So let's think about developing your team, your existing team. In order to get a team that are really behind you, they need to connect to your higher purpose. And we've been talking a lot, haven't we, about values, and them getting that understanding that. And again, this is another big job. It takes a while to think it through. It may not be perfect, but they are your values as a business owner. Okay, they are not open to negotiation. They are your values. But getting people to connect to them, to see how that works, that's one of the ways of getting your team to step up and feel part of it. It starts becoming more than a job, and particularly if they can connect to the future of the business as well. Talked about earlier about, it's in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the bottom, it's stability, it's security. And if they can see that you have a long-term vision, which includes them, they can be part of it. And actually they could, if they wanted to, grow with it. You know, there is an opportunity, and not necessarily to be a partner of the future, but maybe just an opportunity to change their role to become so much more. You know, some people you wouldn't believe, but actually would love to be presenters. Some people would love to be doing real hands-on helping clients, you know, doing business growth work. Until you get involved with them and talk with them, you don't know that, you know, because often they're so busy, heads down, doing the accounts, getting in it. You don't have time to talk to them about stuff like that, okay? And help them connect to the fact that they could be making a difference. We all in life want to make a difference, okay? That's part of who we are, okay? None of us are such 100% selfish that we don't want to make a difference to anybody else. And so if you can connect everybody in your team to the difference the business is making, and honestly, isn't it, during this lockdown time, it's been obvious what a difference we're making to people. So if you can say to people, look at your work, what you've been doing. So you doing that VAT return, or you doing that cash flow forecast, or you doing that management accounts, means that that person is no longer worried. They know where they are. They know how much money there is and how much money is going out. They've got a plan. You've taken away all that fear and stress. It could be like that for clients, couldn't it? To your own business, it could be, you know, you're making a difference to us because you're helping, you know, change the perception of what our business does. Because you as a client manager look to help businesses grow, they see us as a whole as being business growth specialists, not just accountants, not just compliance work. You know, how can make a difference to their own career path? I said you can look at what there is in the future and to others. So whether you choose to connect to what you do to giving to charity, or other people, that's fine, you know, and it can be either through B1, what G1, it could be anything else. I wanted to talk a little bit about giving people responsibility. We talk a bit about this at masterclass, don't we? About the fact that, I know some of you haven't been to masterclass yet, so sorry about that, but we talk about that in a relationship, often what happens is that one person defaults to being the parent and one person defaults to being the child. And what happens then is that role becomes that the parent takes responsibility for everything and the child sort of does it and moans and gets away with it and passes all the challenges back to the parent. Okay. And often what I find in a practice is that you've taken on as the business owner the parent role, and because you are so good at it, naturally your team default to the children role, the child role. So they will not take responsibility for things. And I get that a lot when people say, oh, the teams just don't take responsibility. They don't step up. They don't do things. And often it's because you've not given them that responsibility. You've not encouraged them to do that. And we talk about the initiative ladder. And this is something that you need to be aware of, because you're looking for people with initiative in your business. That's what we need. So when somebody joins you at the very beginning, they're going to be what we call a gopher. Okay. It could be go for this, go find that, go and do whatever. Okay. And you would expect that from a trainee or work experience or something like that, wouldn't you? Where you would just say, oh, just go and find me that, just make me a cup of tea, just, you know, go and do those sorts of things, go shred that stuff for me, whatever. Okay. There is no responsibility. There is no initiative shown about that. Okay. What happens then is you've got somebody with a bit of initiative, they'll come and ask. So they, rather than sitting there, because they've got no work to do, looking at the phone or, you know, doing something else, or, you know, annoying everybody else doing something silly, they actually come and ask for work, or they come and ask how they can help. And so they're the people that are quite useful, because they want to fill their time. You know who you've got in your team who are like that, who will say, can I help you? What else can I do? What else can I do? Things like that. And they will also come and ask you for advice. So if there's a problem, they will come and ask you to solve it. Okay. How do I do this? What should I do about that? And our natural inclination as parents is to give them the answer. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to change that relationship, and we want you to be adults and adults. Okay. They're not children. I think I would be shocked to be seen as a child in my age in this business. We want to be seen as equals. We are both adults. So let's start behaving as adults. Okay. So rather than you giving them all the answers, what we ask you to do is to say to people when they come to you with a question, what do you recommend we do about it? Now, what that means is I have to come to you with a recommendation. Now, that might be right and it might be wrong. It doesn't matter. The fact they've come with a recommended solution is the point. So if they've come up with a great one, you can go, fantastic, you're exactly right, just go and do it. If they come to something and you're not quite sure about it, go, tell me why you came to that conclusion. Okay, well, probably what you didn't know was this. Knowing that, what do you think we should do instead? And get them to go, great, now you've got it, go and do it. Okay? And the more and more you get people to do that, they start feeling good about themselves. They start taking responsibility. They start being passionate and feeling part of what they're doing, rather than just being talked down to all the time. Okay. So initially it's just come and recommend. Okay. As somebody gets really good at this, so they keep coming to you, and 80-90% of the time you're saying, great, just go and do it. Stop asking me, just go and do it. Then you get to the next level, which is do it and just report immediately. So if they see an issue, a problem, then what they do is they will deal with it and come and tell you. So clients come in and there's been an issue. This is what I've done. I'm just telling you. Fine. Okay.
Sorry, Emma.
Yeah?
Can you let Wendy back in, please?
Yeah,
She's
sorry.
lost connection.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry, did she manage to disconnect? There we go. And then finally, when you're happy that somebody is you're confident with them, then you just go, do you know what? Just do it. I trust your judgment. Report to me routinely. So maybe once a week, once a month, you come in and say, these were the issues. This is how I dealt with it. this is the solution. And you can go, great job. Okay. If, and it's going to happen, they do something and it all blows up in their face, that's fine. You go, okay, well done, you tried something, it didn't work. Maybe the client's not accepted what you said and got cross, whatever. No problem, you did your best. What else can we do together? And then you will work with them, alongside them, to fix the situation, okay? But being positive. Yeah, that's a very interesting point, Brian. Brian says, I often wonder how people manage to do anything at home, given they have no initiative at work. It's true, isn't it? Sometimes when people don't have an initiative at work, how do they get stuff work? And so part of that is about this reporting. Okay, it's really important we do that. Now, again, what I'm going to point out, I'm not going to do it today because I think I've talked about it before, but there is a great resource in System Builder called Delegating Effectively. It's really important, okay? When you're asking people to do things, when you get people to step up and give them responsibility, they need to be clear about what you need as an expectation, okay? It's no good just saying, just go and do that, okay? Because first of all, most of the profiles of an accountant is with detail people, okay? Just telling me to go and do that, I'm going to say what? Do what? What are you wanting from me? What is the outcome? What do I need to look at? What are the issues that I'm going to have challenges with? Where do I need to go? What's the software I need? There'll be a million questions in my head, okay? If you say, I want this outcome to be, I suggest you try these things and I'd like to hand it over to you to deal with it, that feels much better. I can say, okay, this is what you need me to do. That's the outcome. I'll go work out how to do it. And then I take the initiative and the responsibility for doing it. I don't keep asking you. So the Delegating Effectively resource is critical, okay? Please look at it. It's really, really useful way of doing it, particularly when you've got people that you've got really frustrated with because you feel like I've given them stuff and they never get it right. They never do it properly. I'm constantly having to fix this stuff. It's driving me insane. That's because we've not been clear when we've delegated the work, okay? So please go and look at that resource. Try again with that person. Try being very clear, because the other thing is, often when we tell people that we want something doing, we don't explain the why. We don't explain the importance. And do you remember on the system stuff, like from the last session, the why is so important. Understanding the why and how it fits and how important it is critical, because that's the other thing, isn't it? One of the things when you do delegate, when you give people responsibilities, you need to give them some measures, because they need to understand what it is you're going to measure them on. Okay, they won't know what you want unless you give them some measures about it. So understanding what is the measure that you want to do and how's that going to work. So as part of that, and as part of people's jobs, you need to understand their roles and accountabilities. Okay. Just a reminder that inside System Builder, I told you I need it on my forehead, there is a career development review program. This is really important, okay? I know it's another thing where, oh, how am I going to find the time to do this? But this is important. And I think particularly now when people are working from home, this is essential, okay? You need to do this with everybody, because their point of view about working will have changed. They will have been under all sorts of different stresses. And you need to find out what's going on for them. And this is a great way of having a good structured conversation, particularly if you feel that they've not been pulling the weight. You know, perhaps they've not been keeping up to the level of competence that you expect, and things like that. This is a nice structured way. It's not personal in that it's not emotional. It's about personally what they need. So it has a form in here. Just going to show you the form. Okay, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Okay. And the important thing is this dot here. What things are you accountable for? Okay. And the accountable is the important word. So if I was to say, what do I pay you to do? What do you bring to this firm? What are you accountable for delivering for me, for this business? How does that, why do I, you know, that's what your job was, your description. What are you accountable for? What are they in here? Okay. So some of those hopefully should be some scores. We talked earlier about having, maybe in the role that it could be customer feedback score. It could be GRF generated or extra work orders, those sort of things. But it could, it's not what you do, it's what are you accountable for. So that needs to be very clear, okay? And then how well do they feel they're able to fulfill the role within working hours? Okay, what else has been happening? Do you feel we're making the most of your abilities? So they can telling you, actually, I've got other things I'd quite like to be doing. What action could be taken to improve your performance in your current position by you or by your team leader? So this is where you can start saying, look, things have not been happening, right, are they? The performance has dropped. What could we do to make that better? Okay, I know we're having to work from home, but we've now worked out that perhaps you can come in and we're staggering people coming in. What if 2 days a week you come into the office? 3 days a week you work from home. Could we manage that? Could we then work out the tasks that you need to be quiet, silent, get on with, that you can do in the office, and the tasks that you can do, with your kids running around or whatever else, manage, get on with it. So think about how can we improve the performance and make some decisions together. What motivates them the most? It must be hard at the moment, okay? I'm going to talk a little bit about motivation in a bit because it's important to make sure you do that. How would you rate the practice on its genuine interest in the well-being of the team? And I'm hoping that through lockdown, you've been keeping in contact with them, you've been talking to them, doing all the things we've been talking about. And then about the teamwork, how's the teamwork? So they get some feedback, give some feedback on their immediate team and the whole team. So they might trigger that they've had some frustrations with people or processes or whatever. If you could wave a magic wand, tell us where you'd like to see yourself in 5 years' time. What job would you be doing? And what would that feel like? Now, okay, some might put in Barbados on a beach. Okie dokie, how are you going to have paid for that? What sort of salary do you need? How long do you want to be there for? Does that mean that you want to be taking 3 weeks off in the summer? Does that mean that, is that real? Or is that just a flippant? We want them to be serious about this. In 5 years' time, I still see myself here in this business. Actually, I think I could probably be doing a lot more, okay? And then we talk about investing in ourselves. So what sort of training would benefit them in the next 6 months? So actually, if somebody says to you, do you know what, I'm quite interested in helping out with the social media stuff. Okay, what sort of training could we do then? Could we do a social media course? Could we look into certain things for you? That would be really helpful for me if you would do that. So, yeah, it'd be great. And then what three things within the practice, if you could improve 3 things within the practice, what would they be? And how would you do that? Now, this is a really weird thing because often people think this has to be a big thing. But I remember that on one occasion I did this with a member of my team. And one of the first things she put was, one of the things that she would improve about being in the business would be having a doormat. And I was like, okay. And she said, because it really frustrates me that people come in and they don't wipe their feet and there's mud all over the carpet. I was like, okay, go and buy a doormat. It's as easy as that. Go and do it. Get the money out, pay cash, go and do it. If that's something that when she comes in the daytime and it's one of those things that winds her up and it's such a simple solution, for goodness sake. So sometimes it can be little things. Other things it can be, do you know what? I think we're not doing really well with communication. Okay. What would you do to fix it? Well, how would you improve that? Okay. It might sound like a WhatsApp channel or whatever else. Okay. If you got a WhatsApp channel, how would that feel? How would that help you in your working day? Think about that. Is there a better way of doing that? And then we look at goals. So the goals that from the last 6 months, you might not have done this before, but what other things have they been doing above and above their accountabilities that they've achieved? What learning have they done? Events and things like that. And then some suggested goals moving forward. So we want to think about developing skills within and outside of their existing role and fulfilling their aims and passions. So we have 3 personal and we have 3 work. Okay, so the idea is that before the meeting, they've completed this, they put some suggestions in here, and then you discuss it with them. So you talk about them and actually think about, does this help the business as well as them? Is this something that is structured? And then we've got a general feedback, how satisfied with the job, how much do they feel accomplished by that? Is it challenging? Are they committed to the firm? Obviously, if they're not, you need to have a conversation about that. And any other thoughts. And then in the meeting itself, once you've gone through all this form, you then agree the 3 goals, and you need to make them smart. Okay, so they need to understand what is an achievement for them. Okay, so I don't know. A personal goal might be, I want to lose 10 pounds in the next 6 weeks. Okay, so how are you going to do that? I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. I'm going to go swimming twice a week. I am going to keep a food diary and monitor what I eat. Okay, so you've got some things there you can measure against. Okay, so we can do that. So this is a really good way, again, of engaging people and motivating, because you're interested about them, but they're also seeing how they're part of the business, how they fit through. Okay, so this just explains how the process works and the action plan. So an action plan to come up with to make sure that you go through those goals. So what are we going to do? How are we going to make it happen? And I always like, because this is a 6 monthly thing, I think you still need to check in with them. So, you know, once a month, how are you doing with that? And sometimes, you know, I've heard there's some great stories. I can't share personal stuff with it because it's, you know, but people where actually as the business owner, they've helped their team get out of debt. They've helped their team, you know, just not by increasing their salaries, by helping them work out how they manage their money better, by giving them goals, structuring their work. So it's a really great way, I think, of involving people. Another thing about roles and accountabilities, just checking the time, is about making sure everybody understands your pricing policy. Okay, and I mean, I know sometimes it doesn't feel relevant, but if people understand your pricing policy, so if you 2 times up that you have a structured way of pricing everything, the reason why it's priced this way is because it means that it's profitable for the business. Obviously, if the business is profitable, you can pay salaries. That's the point, isn't it, for them as team members? Okay, but also that what's included when we do price stuff. So you've got in Time's Up, you've got the print working sheets that explains exactly what has been agreed to be delivered. So if your team understand that for every job you do, there is one of these sheets, and that when they do a job, they need to be checking that they're doing what it says on the sheet, but also if they're finding they're doing anything else, they're doing an extra work order. Guess where the template is? In System Builder, yeah. Or you can use Time's Up if you want to do an extra work order. Then at least it's there. They understand that. That stops them doing things for free. That's part of accountability. And we talked about maybe having some numbers to measure against, which might be the amount of fees they generate, but it could be about extra work orders. The other thing is to make sure that they understand the windows of opportunity chart and how to be involved, okay? So we do this, don't we? Right at the beginning in Clarity, we talk about the windows of opportunity chart and all the things that you could deliver in your business, so that they see, no matter what their role is, they see the breadth of what you can deliver in your business. They can see the sort of things and they can be aware of it, so that when they're looking at clients' records, they can go, oh, we could help with that. Oh, I see that they've got massive debts. We could help with debt collection. Oh, I can see that actually they're not getting money in regularly. We could sort of help show them direct debits. Oh, we can see that 80% of their purchases come from a single supplier. We probably need to talk to them about the risk that is. Same with sales, isn't it? There can be things they can look at. So if they know what it is, so even if you have a big chart on the wall, you know, these are the things we can deliver next to them. Then, and how they can be involved with that. And even if it's, you remember, it's just told and sold on the chart, but even if they spot something and they tell you, that's a tick against the box. Well done, you've done some stuff. And the other thing is that they're part of their role and accountabilities is about creating the systems in System Builder together as a group. You know, not just writing what I do, but understanding that systems are about developing the whole business. It's not just about they think, isn't it? Often when I do systems training with team, it's about, they're worried that it's about replacing their jobs. That's not it at all. Okay. Gerber says it's about, you systemize the 80%, you humanize the 20. If you've got systems and you're doing things the most efficient way, what happens is you become more productive, more efficient, and that frees up time to be looking at that woo chart, to be looking at ways you can help the client, to be adding little extra bits of service that you perhaps hadn't had time for before. So this is about making things better for everybody, but in particular the client. So thinking about roles and accountabilities is the other thing. I also think it's really important that they get a chance to have a say. Okay. One of the things that you do, obviously in Clarity, I ask all mine, and I'm sure you're all being asked the same, is to do the grading of your clients. Yeah, so there's a sheet, isn't there? I think it's actually in here as well. So you're all different because you all obviously have personalised workbooks, but see if I've got one in mine. Okay, yeah, so on mine it's page 20 on here, which we talked about, didn't we, in the Earn from More Existing Clients, which is about grading your clients. Your team need to see this, or whatever version of this you create. They need to understand that they have a say with this, so they should help you grade their clients. Now, little bit of a, well, I don't know what the word is, caveat, that's the word I think I'm looking for, is just because they like them doesn't make them an A. Same with you, okay? This is why they have the grading system. This is why it's the yeses and nos make them an A, B, or C, okay? It's important. But they can be part of it. Now, what often happens as well is that you go, oh, yeah, this is easy, yeah, the quality of the records is great, yeah. And then the person who does the books goes, no, it isn't. It's not. I had an interesting experience this week, and last week as well, actually, with somebody else, where they graded the client, and then we looked at it and we had a discussion about the client, and that client was definitely not A or B client once we talked it through with the person who did the work. There was all sorts of stuff that was sort of hidden behind the scenes that we hadn't done. So making them part of that grading site, let them have a say. That also, if there's clients that are rubbish, do you know what? Sacking them sometimes is a great way of getting your team engaged. It can be a really great thing to engage people with, because they're actually thinking, okay, you agree with me. I'm wasting my time on this person. I could use my time so much more profitably and effectively on somebody else. So that's the other thing. The second thing is team meetings. Again, I know you're all worried about team meetings, but team meetings are critical. More and more, I think, with people working from home, that you all get on Zoom, you see each other's faces, you have a little bit of a chat if necessary, and you have an agenda, okay? Critical agenda for a meeting, okay? So there are some in System Builder for you to look at, of course there are, but think about what you need yourself. Please don't make it purely operational, okay, team meetings. Our team meeting, just as an example, we start off by actually starting with our highlights now. We used to end with them, but we start with our highlights. So we say, what was the best thing that happened last week at work? What was the best thing that happened last week at home? And we talk about those things very, very quickly. We go around and talk about highlights, and that puts us in a good frame of mind and quite positive about stuff. We then look at our one-page plan. So we have a statement of all our key numbers, our key indicators, and we go through that and we discuss what actions need to be taken on the one-page plan, because we do ours weekly. We then have a look at all our goals. So we have every quarter we set 5 or 6 big tasks that we're all going to be part of goals. And so we look at that and we talk about where we are with that. We feedback on that, because each person may have different responsibility for different goals. We ask for help if we need help in that section. And we discuss as a team where everything is, so people know exactly where we are. We discuss our giving, because that's really important to us to know what, that we've made a difference. And we don't do it in monetary terms. So we'll say, this week we gave, I don't know, 1,200 days of clean water. We've given 80 bricks towards building a house, and we've planted 5 trees for orangutans. Okay, whatever it is, that's what it comes up with, but it's a connection. And then we have a little section which we have a better way. So during the week on our Slack channels, we have a Slack channel called A Better Way, and every time we see something that we think could be done better or needs discussing for improving, we put it in a better way. Just a one-liner. And And that one-liner then gets discussed. So if we see a better way, we will talk about it, we will come up with it, and we'll come up with an action. So it's either, nope, we're not doing it, or yes, we'll do it. How are we going to do it? Plan it, change the system, whatever. So that's really important. And then finally, we do nominations. So we will look at who's been nominated for different things, and we will go around the room and pick who our winner is. And the winner, I haven't got it here, they're the team member of the week, and they get a cup. It's a virtual cup at the moment, obviously, but you can have a cup sat on your desk, which is quite nice. So it's just a recognition point. That's the recognition ending with that. Okay. Now you can do a lot of this by using TeamMatters. Okay, the TeamMatters software. The TeamMatters software is downloaded. Where's my mouse? Oh gosh, gone back. Lost my mouse. There we go. The TeamMatters software is downloaded from our software page. Okay, software downloads. Okay, I'm going to show you that setup in a minute. But what happens is, on a weekly point, this pops up. Quite random, often in a very annoying time, but it's really important that it gets you at that point. Key things to point out here, okay? So the top bit, they're little emojis that move around. I've just got a picture of it. So the top left one is shouting from the rooftop, excited. The one at the right, far right, is I'm ready to resign. Okay, and there's everything in between. So the thing is, it jumps up and it says, what degree you're happy and satisfied with your job, and you pick an icon, okay? Then it says the majority of my work this week has been boring or challenging. So this is about, are we giving people work that stretches them mentally, gets them learning, gets them developing themselves. The next one is, how much of what you expected to achieve so far this week have you achieved? So that's really important. What had you expected to achieve by this time on a Thursday? How have we got it? Everything or nothing or anywhere in between, okay? Now, the reason why that's important is if it pops up on a Monday morning, okay, what you expected to achieve was probably not an awful lot, but you have achieved it all because you didn't, that was what you expected, okay? So be aware of that. Then are we moving towards our vision of the future? Do you feel we're actually doing something? And then are there any other comments? Now, so that's really useful because what that does is then obviously as a snapshot, it gives the practice owner a feel of what's going on in their team. Yeah, I will show that in a minute, Wendy. Okay, so the great thing about this is that it stores this information, and at the end of the month it summarizes it, but also you can set triggers on it. I'll show you that, how to do that in a minute, so that if somebody clicks ready to resign, you could get a text straight away, okay, that says Emma's ready to resign. It happened to us once. We have 3 of us that are triggered, named triggers. So if anybody puts ready to resign or the one above it, that's, can't remember what it is, completely fed up or something, we get a text. And I remember it was so funny that I think Shane was demonstrating it, and he clicked ready to resign. And within 2 minutes, Jenny and I were at the door. We're on the phone, you know, we're like, whoa, and you know, we hadn't realized that he was doing this on a webinar, and he was showing somebody, hadn't warned us he was going to do it. And not that it would be true, obviously, with Shane, but it's really good. One of the things is that to react that quickly shows you care. Even if they go, no, do you know what? I know it's not that bad. I was just having a really rubbish morning. You can just say, well, tell me what it is. Okay, is that something that we need to write a system about? Is that something we need to think about how we manage the workflow? Is that something we need to educate a client about? You can have those conversations. So it can trigger it, okay? And that's really important. That things don't fester. That's the point of this. The other thing with TeamMatters is that anybody in the team can trigger this at any time. So although it pops up a random time in the week, you can trigger it yourself. So if you can get your team engaged with it, if they're having a rough day, they can put the thumbs down, and you can just go, are you okay? Can we just check that? Okay. It's really a useful tool for doing that. Once a month, they get a form to fill in that comes up, and they get a couple of days to fill it in. Now, for me, as somebody who reviews these for our team, the most important thing is the top bit. Please choose 3 words that best represent how you felt this month. Often those words can tell me more about a person's state of mind than anything else. and it can tell me whether or not it's something that's happening outside of work or inside of work or whatever. So they are really critical. Then you put in what specifically made you happy this month. Okay. What specifically upset or annoyed you this month? And do you remember I talked about the recommend bit on the initial ladder? So can you suggest ways of avoiding this happening in future? So what do you recommend we do about it? It's no good just whinging to me that this is a problem. What are we going to do to fix it? And then how can we make this company better? So have they seen another way of doing it? You can then also add in further down, I don't know where my mouse has gone. Oh, there it is. You can put in any development activities, your CPD stuff to register that, extra stuff that you've learned this month, and more importantly, what you think you should be sharing with the team. I've mentioned this before in other webinars, that if you're going to invest in your team's training, they should be giving something back. So there is a training feedback form where they should come back from any training and be able to bring back 3 things to share with the team. Even if it's actually 3 things that your team already know, it doesn't matter, as long as it's things they've learned that they think other people should know and share it. And then this is about systems. And then we talked about the Woo chart. So if they've spotted ways of helping people on the Woo chart, they can put there. And if they've had successes from clients or successes from the team, they can write them up. Okay. So I might have heard that Shane and Jenny's have developed a most amazing website, and it's had some really great feedback. Okay. They might not think to put that that's a success story, but I think it is. So I might put that story in as well. Okay, as my own. And then when they finished it, they just click complete and save and exit. Now what that then does is that every month, the practice manager or the practice owner, depending on who you choose it to be, will get a report. Okay, so this is the report they get. This is an example. So the 3 words I've got here is excited, challenged, adored. Oh, that's quite nice. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Okay, so to me, they're all really positive words. They're in a good place. Challenged is a good word, I like. Okay, it really made my day when I received the pat on the back from my boss for the work I'd done. That's what made him happy. What's annoyed me? Nothing. Life at work is fantastic. How can we make it better? Obviously not. Then I've got some learning. I attended the AVN conference and learned about how I can use the AVN software to provide a high level of service to our customers. I read this month's Financial Accountant. I attended a tax seminar. I can now be really proactive with my clients. Updated the final account system to incorporate the use of benchmark and on track. And you get all of this so that you can read it through. And again, once a month, I would go to somebody and I'd say, you know, if there's nothing on it that I need to address, I would go to them and just say, thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate that you've put some good stuff in there. It's lovely to hear you're happy. If somebody's put some stuff in there that's challenged me a little bit or I'm a bit concerned about, I might go to them and say, can we just have 10 minutes? Go and find somewhere comfy, cup of coffee, cup of tea, and sit down and go, can I just ask you a few questions about this? And then deal with the issues. It's much more important that we do that, deal with them. But the other thing, when you're using TeamMatters, it's really important that you recognize that you've had this feedback. So if somebody gives you weekly feedback, somebody gives you monthly feedback, you need to recognize it. You need to say to that person, thank you. Thank you for giving me that feedback. Because if you don't say thank you, if you don't come and talk to them about their feedback forms, they stop filling them in because they think you're not caring. Okay. And even if somebody is doing positive, if I've had 2 positive months, really positive, I will still go to that person and say, can we have 10 minutes? Because I need to check, is it real or is it not? Sometimes with those words, you see, sometimes if I think those words are a bit off, like that adored one's a bit odd, I might actually get to talk to them and go, okay, tell me about that word. Why did that come in your head? And find out, because this is all about connecting, isn't it? If you want your team to stay motivated, to be driven, you need to keep them connected. And you will also get here, this is their weekly ones analysis. So you'll see how happy and satisfied they were with their job. Was it repetitive or challenging? How much they achieved? And are we moving towards the vision? So you can see, and often what will happen obviously is there'll be different times in the month where, because of workloads, they will find work challenging or whatever. And you can start monitoring that as well. So you can see where their weeks are stressed out. Now, if you've got a small team, you'll see that visually a lot of the time, but will you do anything really about it? You've got it recorded here. and you'll actually go, do you know what, I can see from your feedback and from your weekly one that there's points where you're really stressed. Can we talk about that? Or I can see that actually, it's not on this one, but you could say, I can see that actually you're telling me that your work's quite boring on a regular basis. Perhaps we could change that and do something else. Okay. The other thing that Team Matters does is it allows people to put forward suggestions and ideas. And that's, again, we talked about making them feel engaged. Okay. So they can just right click on the button for Team Matters and it comes up that you want to add a new idea. This is what it says. So I can say, right, I give them a breakdown. So it could be that I just want to help a client, or I want to improve a product, or I've got like a radical idea, and you just specify it. And then they can decide how their action should be taken. So is it something that you think, oh, needs fixing now? Or is it something that needs a group discussion? Or actually, is it something that is strategic, so the board need to discuss it? Or if you're not sure. And again, when people fill that in, the people you've nominated to receive these will see these and be able to go and talk to the person about that idea. And again, that's about going back to people and saying, thank you for that idea. And you can say, I think, yes, we should discuss it in the next meeting. Team meeting, you might go, do you know what? I don't think that is a team meeting discussion. I think possibly it's a challenge you're having. Let's work out what we can do to help you. And you can see that they can submit those anonymously if they want to. So if they're seeing something happen, they can say these things. Now, I know people worry that people are going to just be whinging and by that, but if you've got that environment where people are trying to help the business grow, it should be really positive. And then finally, I've got the team recognition. So you can have everybody's name in in System Builder, and then you can get the selection and you can put in what they're recommending for. Now, in the software, so you download it from avn.co.uk/software-downloads, it's Team Matters. There is a user guide, okay, which is in System Builder, okay. This is the bits you need to know, okay. So when you go, you then have to go to a special portal, and it's in the user guides, it does explain it. Oh, go back. I'm just trying to move my thing so I can explain. So you can see up here, there is a web page where you need to go to, teammatters.avn.co.uk, okay? And obviously, as the person with the authority to do it, you can go in and you set up, do you want them to do weekly, monthly? Can they do ideas? Can they do nominations? You can choose that. Then you can set it up so you get emailed if the score is or below a certain number. So I've got 3 in here. You can get text messages, again, if the score's lower than, in this case, 2 or 1. And the day the reports are emailed to you is on the 1st of the month. In this case, you can change it. When the happiness form comes up, like I said, it just pops up randomly, they can snooze it. So you can set how long they can snooze it for, whether that's 5 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever choice with it. We've got summary feedback, okay? So where all the summary sheets are for scores below, we've got all scores here, 6 and below, because it's out of 6. So you can set those, tick and untick, change those numbers. Then you can also choose who gets to get these texts and emails, okay? So from this list up here, there will be the list of people in your team. You will choose who they are, and you will give them an email address to go to. So it might be that it's a personal email address if it's a text, or it's a personal mobile. And you can then tick if they want to receive emails, texts, and ideas on nominations. And you can just add or remove people from there. And finally, you can see reports. So I don't have any data in this one. I wanted to show somebody who got loads of data, but I didn't think it was fair. But you can then see all the different monthly reports. You can go into them, you can reprint them off, you can check them. You can set a report for the nominations you've received between a date range, and you can do the ideas. So you can get reports off of all sorts of things. So if you want to do, excuse me, team member of the week, and you get everyone to use the nominations process, then once a week you get somebody to just go in, print that report, nominations for the past 7 days, and see and then read it out or share it with the team. It's a great way of doing it. So Team Matters, excuse me, is the tool that allows you to connect with people. But the most critical thing is you have to respond to whatever comes to you. Okay, it's really, really critical. Otherwise, people will stop using it. They'll think, why am I filling in this? Because nobody pays any attention. In System Builder, you knew I was going to say this, there is all sorts of rules and our guidance for how to deal with the feedback. Okay, it always should be a positive thing. Is helping to grow, and so how you deal with the weekly feedback, the monthly feedback is in there. Important really to make sure I'm conscious of time, sorry, a bit overrunning, that we communicate, okay? And I think it's important to avoid putting everything in emails. Sometimes you do, but if you can talk to somebody, it's like we say with clients, you know, things can get misconstrued in emails. Just pick up the phone, just go onto Zoom, just have a chat. Make sure that the way to keep people motivated is to have fun with a serious intent. So it's not about being crazy, it's about making the work environment a fun place. People can have a bit of laugh. You can see all around me, I've got all my fish stuff. If you don't know anything about fish, just contact me. It's a great way of, some examples of businesses who even in the most extreme circumstances have made the work fun and engaging. I've put llama trekking because it's like, we have that as a reward. We have to set ourselves a goal. When we hit that goal, we're all going out llama trekking. It'll be a bit of fun. It doesn't really matter. It's just something different. And even deadlines can be fun. So you've seen probably the picture that we have where one member put a balloon on the ceiling for every tax return that was due, left in January. And every time they did a tax return, they popped a balloon. Made it a lot of fun. You can do that. Really important, as I said, to give recognition. I can't tell you how important a thank you is. I know Shane brought this up in one of his webinars, you know. I have the thank you cards he's given me on my desk in the office at work. It just reminds me, you know, that I am appreciated. And it's very often, it's easy for us to pick up the things that people aren't doing well, but remember to pick up things that are doing well. And great rewards for a great job. Doesn't have to be financial. Okay, if somebody's done a great job, fantastic. Bunch of flowers, bottle of wine. You know, you can do big things. I mean, I remember that we had, before we were practice growth experts, we were CATS, customer advice team. And we'd had a very stressful 3 months. We'd been doing an awful lot of work, a lot of training, a lot of events. It had been, you know, we were all really stressed out, but honestly, everybody in the team had really stepped up. And Shane very kindly gave me a budget to go and treat them. And we just had a spa day. We all went to the local spa, had a day in there. You know, people paid for their own extra massages, but it was lovely just to have a day of relaxation together. It doesn't have to cost a lot. Some things, like I said, the llama trek isn't going to cost us a fortune. It's a fun and it's a reward for us. It can be whatever it is. But, you know, it doesn't have to be financial is what I want to say to you. So, questions. Right. So Gareth has got some challenges. I don't think we've set up his times up properly. So I will have a look at that. That's fine. I will talk to you directly. Has anybody else got any other questions? Okay.
I just, rather than put it in the chat box, Emma, yeah. On our Team Matters things, everyone gets emailed. There are only certain I complete the thing, then the whole team get emailed.
Okay. So I need to go in and change the settings with you then to show you that. So that bit that I just showed you with who gets to get the emails and things,
yeah,
that's probably been set up the wrong way around.
Okay, all right, we'll leave that for next week then. Yeah,
that's fine. We can do that. That'd be brilliant. Okay.
Thank you.
That's okay. So obviously I've overrun and I'm sorry about that, but I just want you first, before you leave, if you could just put one action in the chat box that you're going to do, please. One action that your practice growth experts can support you on. I really want to know that I can help you with this. And it's like I said to you when I very started, team stuff is a really big thing. And that's why we have the gearing workbook and the gearing workshop. The gearing workshop is 2 days. And we learn all about understanding people and learning styles and communication styles and working out better. And so it is a big subject, but in clarity, obviously, this is just a start. And I know at some of you, it's really important to recruit your first person, which is why I've spent a lot of time on that. But more importantly, get your team involved. And you have been working really hard on your vision and values, okay? And you've been doing that really well. Once that's ready, you need to share that with your team, okay? You need to explain that so they can become part of it. It's really great. Thank you, everybody. It's been lovely having you on. I hope it's been helpful and giving you some ideas of things we could do. And now I'll let you go and get a cup of coffee. So have a great day. And I'll see you soon. Bye.